William Carter shuffled through the bustling airport, his cane tapping softly on the polished floor. Clad in a well-worn military jacket adorned with faded patches, he was a living testament to years of service. White wisps of hair framed his wrinkled face, and despite the tiredness in his eyes, there was a glimmer of quiet pride. Today, he was traveling to Seattle for a ceremony honoring his old military unit, a small reunion for the few comrades still around. As he approached the boarding gate, a young woman named Lisa, sporting a bright smile that faltered when she saw him, greeted him. "Hello, sir. May I see your boarding pass?" she asked, her voice polite but with an undertone of impatience. William handed her his ticket, purchased well in advance. "I have a reservation for this flight," he said confidently. But as Lisa scanned the pass, her expression shifted. "I'm sorry, Mr. Carter, but this ticket is invalid for this flight." William furrowed his brow. "That can't be right." "I booked it a month ago," he replied, trying to maintain his composure. Lisa's gaze flickered with irritation as she checked the ticket again. "I'm sorry, but we've already assigned that seat to another passenger. You'll have to wait here while we sort this out," she stated, dismissively. William sighed, accustomed to the minor inconveniences of air travel. "All right," he said, stepping aside as other passengers streamed past him toward the jet bridge. Little did he know, a keen observer was watching from a distance. Andrew Taylor, the owner of Carter Air, stood nearby, dressed in a plain black hoodie and jeans, blending in with the crowd. He often flew under the radar to gauge how his staff treated passengers. As he watched Lisa's interaction with William, a sense of unease settled over him. He overheard snippets of conversation between Lisa and her colleague, discussing how the flight was overbooked and that it would be easier to deny William access. Andrew's jaw tightened. He didn't want to jump to conclusions but sensed something was off. His focus returned to William, who stood patiently, his cane trembling slightly under the weight of his grip. As minutes passed, he saw other passengers board, some casting sympathetic glances at the old veteran while others rushed past, oblivious to his plight. After a while, Lisa returned, her expression carefully neutral. "I'm sorry, Mr. Carter, but it looks like there's no seat for you on this flight," she said. William blinked in disbelief. "What do you mean no seat? I paid for my ticket. I need to be there." His voice rose slightly, filled with frustration. "I understand, sir, but the flight is overbooked, and we can't accommodate you," Lisa replied, her tone becoming more dismissive. Andrew felt a surge of anger as he stepped forward, pretending to check his phone. "Excuse me," he said calmly, "what seems to be the problem here?" Lisa looked startled, her professional mask slipping for a moment. "Oh, no problem, we're just assisting this passenger," she quickly replied. "Assisting him by denying his seat?" Andrew raised an eyebrow, his tone serious. "He has a valid ticket, doesn't he?" Lisa hesitated, her confidence wavering. "Yes, but..." "Then he should be allowed to board," Andrew insisted, his voice firm. He could sense the discomfort in the air as Lisa flushed, realizing she was being called out. "I'll see what I can do," she said quickly, turning away to confer with another employee. Andrew turned to William, offering a small smile. "I'm Andrew. Mind if I stick around to make sure they don't give you the runaround?" William chuckled softly, appreciating the support. "Suit yourself, young man. I could use the company." As they waited, Andrew struck up a casual conversation with William. He learned that the veteran had served in the Korean War and was traveling to reunite with the dwindling number of his unit for an award ceremony. William spoke humbly, glossing over the details of his service, but Andrew could sense the depth of his experiences. After a tense few minutes, Lisa returned, her expression sour. "We managed to find a seat for you, but it's in the last row next to the restroom," she announced. William's shoulders slumped slightly, but he nodded. "That'll do." Andrew, however, wasn't satisfied. "That's unacceptable. He paid for a specific seat." Lisa's forced smile returned, but her tone was defensive. It's the best we can do. Andrew's gaze sharpened. He wanted to reveal who he was and call out Lisa's behavior, but something held him back. He wanted to see how this played out. As William made his way toward the plane, Andrew followed closely, his mind racing. There was something about William that nagged at him, a feeling he couldn't quite place. As William stumbled slightly, dropping his small duffel bag, Andrew noticed a glint of metal spilling out. Bending down to help, he picked up a polished medal, his breath catching as he recognized it, the Distinguished Service Cross. He had seen that medal before, often mentioned in stories told by his late grandfather, who had served alongside William in the war. Andrew's heart raced as he handed the medal back to William. "This is incredible," he said, his voice filled with awe. "My grandfather often spoke of a Harold Carter. Could it be?" William's eyes met Andrew's, and for a moment, time stood still. "Yes, I served with your grandfather. Richard Taylor was a fine soldier," he replied, a mix of pride and sadness in his voice. Andrew felt a wave of emotion wash over him. "He always said he wouldn't be alive if it weren't for you." William's expression softened. "We saved each other. In war, you think of the man next to you, not just yourself." Their conversation was interrupted by the flight attendants, who began their pre-flight checks. Andrew decided to wait, knowing he couldn't let this moment slip away. As the plane leveled out at cruising altitude, he leaned closer to William once more. "Mind if I sit here for a bit?" Andrew asked, gesturing to the empty seat beside him. William nodded, his eyes brightening. "Sure, as long as you don't mind the smell back here." Andrew chuckled. "I've had worse." "That medal, how did you earn it?" William's gaze turned serious. "It was during a tough battle. We were cut off and outnumbered. Richard was hit, and I had to make a choice, leave him behind or risk my life to save him." Andrew listened intently, captivated by the story. "You acted heroically." William shook his head. "It was just part of the job. The real fight came when we had to hold our position against overwhelming odds. I took command after our lieutenant was killed." Andrew felt a swell of pride for the man sitting next to him. "You're a hero." William shrugged, looking away. "Heroes don't wear medals. They carry the weight of those they lost." As the plane began its descent, Andrew leaned closer. "When we land, can I buy you a cup of coffee? I want to hear more about your story." William raised an eyebrow but nodded. "All right, son. I suppose I've got time." Once they landed, Andrew led William to a quiet cafe near the baggage claim. As they sat down, Andrew ordered coffee and returned with 2 steaming cups. "I meant what I said on the plane. Your story matters." William stirred his coffee, looking thoughtful. "Most people don't want to hear old war stories. They have their own lives to live. But your experiences can inspire others," Andrew insisted. "You've done so much for this country. People need to know." William smiled faintly. "You're a good kid. I appreciate that." As they sipped their coffee, Andrew felt a surge of determination. "I want to make things right. Your treatment on that flight was unacceptable. I'm going to create a program to honor veterans like you." William looked at him, surprised. "You don't have to do that." "I want to," Andrew replied firmly. "No veteran should feel invisible." After a week of planning, Andrew invited William back to the airport for a special meeting where he introduced the Honor Flight Initiative, a program to prioritize veterans, provide complimentary upgrades, and ensure every passenger was treated with dignity. William's story became the cornerstone of this initiative. At the launch event, Andrew stood in front of a crowd filled with airline employees, veterans, and reporters. "Today, we celebrate the sacrifices of our veterans," he announced. "We're committed to honoring their service and ensuring they receive the respect they deserve." As the crowd applauded, Andrew looked at William, who sat in the front row, tears of pride glistening in his eyes. "This is for you, Mr. Carter," Andrew said, his voice thick with emotion. "Your bravery inspires us all." William smiled, overwhelmed by the recognition. For the first time in years, he felt seen, not just as a veteran, but as a man whose life had made a difference. After the ceremony, Andrew approached William. "You've inspired a change, and I promise we will continue to honor veterans like you." William nodded, a sense of fulfillment washing over him. "Thank you, son. This means more than I can say." As they left the airport together, William felt a renewed sense of purpose. His story, once buried in the shadows, had become a beacon of hope for others. And Andrew, determined to honor all veterans, knew that this was just the beginning of a brighter future, one where every soldier's sacrifice would be acknowledged and respected.